if you are a first-time home buyer, just pretend you were a first-time home buyer,
Right.
what would you want to tell that first-time home buyer about the closing process so that, number one, they were relaxed through the process, and number two, they felt like they could ask questions or whatever they needed to do to make sure they were fully educated? Because I believe that sometimes first-time homebuyers come in and they're like a deer in the headlights and they're just signing whatever's put in front of them. And it's probably okay, but I would assume sometimes they would like to know a little bit more. So tell us what first-time homebuyers need to know.
So we'll get that order, that contract. We'll open it up and we'll send them some information, and we'll send them a link to give us their information.
Right.
But then if they are interested, and I always encourage this, call the pre-closer, right? Or say, I'd like to talk to one of the attorneys that's going to close the transaction. And so then you can ask your questions to the attorney and you'll get a comfortable feeling as far as what to expect. And then on a first-time home buyer, I really want you to pay attention to if you got to wire in the money if it's over $5,000.
Right.
And I want you to make a phone call independently, not somebody giving you a phone number. Independently, look us up on the web, find our number, call us and say, hey, let me read these wire instructions that I have gotten. That's the really, the scariest thing to me is that.
Why do we close with closing attorneys in Georgia? I think there's 6 or 7, 8 states, I don't remember what the total number is, where you have to close with a closing attorney. And so why do you have to close with an attorney in Georgia instead of a title company?
There are 6 attorney states. Some people do say 8.
Okay.
And it's basically the law.
Yeah.
So, a closing attorney has to transfer the property. That's
Right.
transferring the deed.
Right.
So they're also supposed to be in charge. There's several Supreme Court opinions that tell us we're supposed to be in charge of the entire process, which means in control of the process. And
Right.
So if you're responsible and you control, it's not just the ceremony. That's where people get confused. The ceremony is one in a string of transactions or strings of, items that need to be accomplished: pre-closing, closing, disbursement, recording. And so the ceremony is small. And people confuse that, we'll do everything and let a closing attorney just close it. And that also is illegal. People just don't understand it.
Okay. I like what you call the ceremony in Georgia because it really allows kind of an emotional handoff in some cases from the seller to the buyer. And a lot of people, they like to buy a house that feels like it has good mojo, and they like to, the sellers like to give it to somebody who's going to carry on the good mojo. And I know that sounds really silly, but it's true.
Well, there's really a legal reason behind it. We're supposed to, in the East Coast, we call it East Coast funding or wet funding.
Okay.
And so most of the other states have escrow funding or escrow closings. It's like a checklist. Imagine you've got 6 things to do. Oh, buyer signs.
Yep.
Oh, seller signs. Oh, I record the doc. Oh, I do this. And at the very end, okay, 3 days later, we'll fund it, right?
Yep.
Or 5 days or whatever. Well, we bring everybody together because we're supposed to wet fund it, meaning it's in our hands.
Yep.
We're cutting checks. We're sending out wires. It all happens like crash course, but it's good because everybody does see each other, like what you're saying.